Let's give it up for the Vice President of MasterCard, Mr. Haysam, Fahmy. Haysam, the stage is all yours. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for him.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Haysam Fahmy. I look over managed services. So MasterCard has several divisions where beyond just a card company, beyond our core services, we offer services to predominantly issuers, banks, and merchants as well. And parts of those services extend across how to utilize data, consulting services, fraud, cybersecurity, and marketing, which is what I look over here, based out of Dubai for Middle East and Africa. And working in the region, we look at how do we support issuers specifically? How do we support banks? Get into the digital space in a bit more, adding a bit more value, specifically when it comes to digital, right? Everything's transforming. This is the topic of the conference in these 2 days. And so we're getting into this world where we're trying to understand in traditional marketing, in the way that we've been able to reach consumers. We were just talking about in sort of traditional banks, the way that we reach customers has been very face-to-face, which is great. One of the things that we're really trying to focus on here is how do we help banks acquire customers online? This is the core proposition of many digital banks now. And one of the core fundamental principles under the greater banking digital transformation. So what we've been working on at MasterCard, and one of the things I'm going to share with you today, is a way to utilize data, a way of utilizing tech, marketing intelligence to actually identify, capture, engage, and potentially acquire customers online. That's what I'm going to take you on today. But before I do that, I want to start with actually identifying the core issues with digital acquisition online. So for us, we see 5 core components of why in the Middle East and Africa, why digital acquisition has issues in terms of actually driving value and actually getting the results that banks look for. The first one is around how do you actually identify people online? How do you find them? How do you know that this is the segment I should go after? What data are you using for that? And a lot of banks struggle with that question. They use a lot of third-party data. Some of it is not very clean, not great quality, and therefore they end up targeting the wrong people and therefore wasting money. The second is how do you actually, assuming that you've targeted the right person, how do you get their attention? How do you capture their time? How do you get them through the marketing funnel? At the end of the day, MasterCard has core products like credit cards, debit cards, prepaid cards. They're core products. How do you get people's attention in digital age when there's so many different distractions? That is a core challenge. The core challenge is how do you make sure your product is not labeled as boring or bland? Once you then get their attention, how do you engage them in a way that convinces them that that product is actually tailored for them, that actually fits their need? And you only have a few seconds to do so. So your drive could be your ad on Facebook or ad on Google, for example. Your engage, you're taking them to a landing page or maybe your mobile app, and you only have a few seconds to really convince them. And if they're not convinced here, they will leave, and you've wasted the marketing dollars or dirhams that you've spent to get them. Lastly, once you've convinced them, they say, yes, this is the right product for you, how do you actually make it easy for them to say, yes, I'm interested in this product? To start the conversion process. So if somebody's on the Dubai Metro and he sees an amazingly strong product that's right for him, how do you make it easy for that person on the go to apply and say, yes, I'm interested? And I'm going to share with you how we're doing that. And lastly, how do you look at this entire cycle as a head of cards or a head of retail at a bank and try to understand what is working, what is not? How do you look at the end-to-end funnel? At the moment, it's very split. A lot of the core issues that we're seeing is that different parts of this funnel is being dealt by different people or different segments. So the identification part, identifying the right people, could be done by a media agency or your own analytics team in the bank. The drive could be done by an independent media agency which sits somewhere outside your organization. The engage, the ability for you to control the content that you're giving out to actually convince people of the banking proposition, could be hosted by your IT or by your marketing, completely different division. Your convert is obviously being handled by either a call center or sales. If you have KYC, that's back to IT. So as you can see, it's very fragmented. So as a head of cards, head of retail, a CEO, if he wants to know how much and how well your online activity has performed, it becomes very, very challenging. And that's what we see a lot of these issues, which I've talked about in the previous slide. So there's a lot of challenges, a lot of traps. And if one doesn't work, the rest will not. The biggest one from my experience, I've launched a digital bank 4 years ago, launched digital marketing initiatives for 3 banks in the region. The biggest one, the biggest trap is actually in the middle. How do you personalize and engage someone when they've actually come to your channel and convince them that this product is for you? What usually happens is that banks or media agencies develop one kind of experience which may not relate to different types of folks. And that's a big challenge here. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to take you through conceptually what MasterCard locally here is building to kind of solve for these issues, to take a more scientific approach by taking the guesswork out in each and every one of these. How do you better identify people online? What kind of data can you use? How do you take a more scientific approach into getting people's attention, understanding what content engages and convinces them? How do you convert them? And at the end, how do you look at the overall picture? That's what I'm going to take you through today. So conceptually, the solution looks like something like this. This is the marketing funnel. Identify, again, is being able to understand through several types of data sets who you should go after. Drive is the first stage of the journey, which is basically your advertising, which at the moment is very easy to do. People can buy ads in huge amounts. Whether they work or not is a different question. Engage, as I mentioned, is probably from my perspective the most critical. The ability for you to actually engage someone through a customized, personalized experience. And how do you actually start the conversion process, either through a lead form or through an actual application? And how do you look the whole funnel? So what we're doing is taking a test and learn approach. We're approaching the acquisition methodology saying we don't know what's going to work, but we're going to try different things. And we're building this acquisition engine, a digital acquisition engine, to help us understand through this test and learn methodology of what works and what doesn't. So we start by actually looking at the different personas that could be relevant for a specific product using different types of data sets. MasterCard data, third-party data, which is already available, issuer data, and this is done in a 100% policy transparent way and regulatory strict manner. We're very big on how we use data. The second, after we identify the product, the segments, we look at what kind of messages they would be keen on responding to. We're going to test different types of elements. So again, it's a test and learn type of approach. For example, the message that I like getting is, it's new. that responds to me. While others may like getting the 2-for-1, getting free delivery, we don't know. We're going to test these things out in this engine. The second, when it comes to drive and running your advertising, we're going to test different types of channels. Different types of channels that we know these audiences are most likely to use. And for different markets, it could be very different. For example, for Saudi, there's a huge focus on Twitter, outdoor advertising. For the UAE and Egypt, Facebook is extremely popular. And also, we're going to test out different content that actually gets the message delivered to those right people. And we're going to test different types of things. Similarly, when it comes to engage, we're also testing different types of landing page experiences or mobile experiences to know what different people respond to. So it could be something that is very emotionally read through a video, for example, or something very statistical. We don't know what different people will engage with. And lastly, how do we know how people apply for actual products? There's different ways to capture leads. You can actually apply through an actual form. You can say, I want somebody to call me back, or you can make it convenient and use instant messaging. In addition to being able to understand the entire funnel from how many people you've reached, engaged, and you get different levels of insight, more detailed insights about what actually goes on. And what we're doing now with this approach is basically coming with a solution that says, we can help you figure out the right routes to acquisition. That's the key, that's the point of this. So there are key learnings here, which you take for the current campaign that you are running and for future campaigns. And that's the whole point of this. So let me break down each one of these and give some examples of how this will work. So first, utilizing smart data to actually identify the right people. This is an identify. When it comes to drive, we utilize the entire digital marketing spectrum. And what we usually see is that a lot of banks focus on this space. It's very easy to buy media. You can literally just go pay Facebook and Google and all the other channels thousands, but you end up wasting a lot of money because the entire funnel is not taken care of. Once they click, they can leave if the content is not tailored to them. We help you focus on comprehensive earned media and your own media, your website, your mobile app. How do all these things integrate to actually drive the right people into those channels? We assess different types of channels based on their performance, and this is different per country. We also have a plethora of amazing, unique marketing assets that are exclusive to MasterCard. For example, the UEFA Champions League, Disney Paris, some great awards, which help in the drive factor to get people's attention. Here's an example. This is not real, this is made up, of how potentially that could be packaged. Although there are different ways to do this. You could do this across entertainment. Different audiences respond to different things. We test different types of advertising and develop concepts that fit for the mobile age, that are engaging, that are quick, that actually drive results, and that's all measured. And we test different types of content. There's everything from video to display ads to social ads, and we try to understand what people respond to, because again, we're coming in with the idea that we don't. Different types of landing page experiences. Again, this is, to me, probably the most important. How do you know what people respond to? You don't know until you actually test things out, and that's exactly what we do. When it comes to actual conversion, when people are actually applying, how do you know how they apply? How do you analyze the data that you've received from a media perspective to actually understand what worked and what didn't? How do you better improve your conversion rate? Those are all the things that we look at. And how do you make it easy for them to apply? Call me back. There's a chatbot feature that's very popular in South Africa now. A lot of banks are developing their own WhatsApp capabilities, which are very, very smart, intuitive, and quick to get people to apply. And lastly, how do you look at the entire funnel and the full dashboard of performance that actually tells you, here's how your campaign is running from A to Z. This is to your head of retail, to your head of cards. And not just know what works for this particular campaign, but take key learnings for future campaigns. So this is, in a nutshell, what we're trying to tackle here when it comes to digital acquisition. And I'm happy to answer any questions in this space. I know my time is probably up. It all starts with a free assessment, of course. Yeah, happy to take any questions. If not, yes.
When you do data acquisition, what all information are there which helps you to identify the persona so that you can map the relevant campaign to those persona?
Sure. So one of the beautiful things I think that MasterCard brings is identifying people's passion points. When I say passion points, it's that we each have maybe 2 or 3 things that we absolutely love to do. And that's what we actually have mapped out here in a lot of the marketing assets. So I am big on football, right? And online there's ways for you to be able to basically target through a media channel, specifically Facebook or Google, people who love this space. Entertainment is the same thing. Music as well. So this is one of the core drivers when it comes to utilizing data to actually drive people and really engage them, really understand who they are and how to actually convince them. That is one core thing that we really look at. Actually, probably the biggest one. Among others as well. It obviously depends on the product, the segment, the market, various variables. Yes, hi.
Obviously, this is, you've walked us through a strategy that we can follow to acquire customers. How successful has this been for MasterCard in acquiring customers?
Sure, absolutely. So we don't do it directly. We help banks directly apply it, and we execute. And so we come in with a strategy that's tailored to the bank, and we execute it. That's one of the strongest, I guess, unique selling propositions about what we do as their services. So we've been currently piloting with four banks across the region, testing and learning, and we're in the process of actually figuring out what actually works, and diversifying the pilots in a way that actually lets us know what works on a local level and also on a regional level. And there's so many different variables, and the idea is that we have enough insights to actually really crack this thing, which is very tough on many levels. So just to answer your question, it's 4 at the moment, but there's a lot more coming up. It's obviously in great demand. Digital banks are basically relying just on something like this, and that's only going to grow. So it is a fairly new package or product, which we are testing at the moment and learning very, very fast. Yes. Hi.
If we are a non-bank and we want to plug in a digital e-wallet to our customer journey,
Yep.
do we need a bank to make this journey come true with you?
No, you don't. You don't. So predominantly our customers are banks at the moment. We work with a lot of merchants as well, and I believe somebody from MasterCard is going to come present today who actually looks over merchants. We also work with small and medium companies as well. So no, it's not just limited to